If you guys remember earlier this year, there was a woman who posted how she left a med spa after she got the broadband light facial, which is the BBL. I know you've been seeing the girls get laser hair removal and you have questions. That's what I'm here for. Let's break down everything you need to know about laser hair removal. If you're new here, I'm Mahaly, licensed esthetician and multicultural skin specialist, and this is a place for beauty bosses and skin enthusiasts. The first thing that you're going to expect when you're going to your first laser hair removal appointment is that you are going to have to shave. I know this is probably the most counterintuitive thing I've ever said on this channel, but it's so serious. You need to make sure that you are shaving. You can't wax while you're getting lasered. Also, you can't come in with a bush either, okay? Shaved is the preferred way to be. What's important about how laser works is that it targets the pigment of the bulb of hair within the skin. If you do any plucking or you do any waxing where we remove the bulbs, our goal is to remove bulbs when we're waxing, that is going to not give the laser anything to target to help weaken that follicle or weaken that bulb to allow it to give you less and less amount of hair growth. So the only thing you should be doing for hair removal methods is shaving. Typically when you get to your third treatment anyway, you won't even have to worry about shaving too much until it's the day of, but definitely make sure that you have some form of pigment in that hair so it can be lasered. Number 2, laser does not work ASAP, so you're gonna have to play a little bit of a waiting game when it comes to laser, but not too much though, not too much. You always wanna communicate with your tech what's going on. So for most people, you will tend to see a difference in the density or a reduction in the amount of hair that grows back by your third or fourth treatment. If you are not seeing that, you need to say something, because that means that what they're doing isn't working, or maybe you're doing something that isn't working and they need to adjust some settings to make sure you're not wasting your money. Because let's face it, laser isn't the most inexpensive option that we have for hair removal. Now, it's likely that the average amount of treatments that you will be having to perform is anywhere between 6 to 12. 6 is extremely conservative, 12 is just a ballpark number. There are people who also have to go more sessions, especially if you are a deeper pigment, because they have to be very careful about how they pulse the laser into the skin and what kind of laser that you use. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about different lasers and what you should be asking for while you are talking to your physician, laser tech, or nurse who's going to be performing your procedures. Number 3, you can get laser hair removal if you are black. Yes, you absolutely can. Now, the biggest thing when it comes to lasers is that there are different wavelengths, and that just means there are different levels of penetration that occur with different lasers. So I also want to say that just because you find someone that has a good laser doesn't mean that they know how to properly use it. That's like giving someone a Maserati and they just got their permit, if you know what I'm saying. Despite recent findings online and a few other viral videos that I'm going to get into in a little bit, you absolutely can get lasered if you have a deeper brown black skin tone. The problem is it's all about what laser you use and what technique. The overall rule of thumb is that the most safe laser for black and brown skin types are going to be it's going to be a Indie YAG laser, 1040 nanometer wave laser. And I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the different lasers and why which laser may be best for you. And these are some questions that you can ask the person that you're seeing when you're in your consultation. So we're going to start from superficial to deep when it comes to wavelengths and different types of lasers and lights when it comes to hair removal. The Alexandrite laser is a pretty popular laser. However, it is not recommended for deeper skin tones. If you are really fair, really light, it typically works really well for you because you have that 755 millimeter wavelength depth. And when I'm talking about wavelengths, I'm talking about how far down the laser penetrates into the skin so it can get to its target area, or its sweet spot is what I like to call it. One perk about an Alexandrite laser is that it's really good for getting rid of finer hairs or medium coarse hairs. However, it does tend to heat up the top layer of the epidermis, that skin, pretty quickly. And the problem is if we heat up the skin too much, that can cause burns. So if they have an Alexandrite laser and you are someone who is tan, brown, black, walk away. That's not gonna be the right laser for you. Number 2, a diode laser. Now, diode lasers have come a long way, and they are pretty versatile when it comes to treating all skin tones and types. There is a new hair removal method called the SHR, or super hair removal, that is also really great at dissipating heat when it comes to lasering skin. So let's talk about it. Due to the wavelength of the diode laser, it is literally at the sweet spot for helping to treat deep hairs or just laser hair removal in general. The hair bulbs in the epidermis sit in the same exact area as where that laser would penetrate to and get into that sweet spot. This laser is also supreme for coarse hair. So if you're someone who has thicker hair, and it's typically women and men who have on the coarser side of hair where they're experiencing folliculitis, ingrown hairs, and just unsightly irritation from hair growth, that seek out laser hair removal anyway. So if you're already that person, you're a perfect candidate. Now let's talk about SHR. Super hair removal is when we use the laser machine. I was gonna grab mine. So when we use the laser machine, and the way it works is that it allows for really quick, short pulses so that you can build up the heat over time without overstimulating and creating a higher risk for burn-in. And that's really what we want. When it comes to melanated skin, the more heat we put into it, the more melanin starts to get stimulated, shields itself, and can result into a burn. And we all know melanin is extremely reactive. And if you don't know, melanin is very reactive, and it's very sensitive to heat, UV stimulation, amongst a few other things. The goal is not to heat up the skin so much to where the top layers, the epidermis, are burnt, but just build up the heat enough time so we have a necrosis of the hair bulb or the follicle where that hair is sitting, so that it can just weaken it and allow for that hair reduction to take place over the next few months as you're doing your services. If you are looking for laser hair reduction or laser hair removal, I highly recommend it being with a diode laser, just because it's going to give you the best and more effective results in the least amount of treatments. However, when you're vetting your laser hair tech, you want to make sure that they have some kind of proof, a portfolio showing before and afters of people with deeper and darker skin, because that can tell you that they know how to ride that horse to get you the results that you want. Number 3, a Indie Yag 1040 nanometer wavelength laser. Now, like I said before, Indie Yags are the safest bet. It has a very long pulse laser. It can bypass, the heat can bypass the top layers, therefore giving you a much less chance of burning in that area during that kind of treatment. With that being said, I love Indie Yag lasers. However, they're not the best when it comes to hitting the sweet spot for where that hair follicle lies to help with laser hair removal. I personally love Indie Yag lasers for facial treatment services like laser peels. Typically with Indie Yag lasers, since they're not as effective of treating that sweet spot, you're going to be doing more services and more treatment times, which is the safer way to go. However, you will be experiencing a longer time to see the results that you want, and a lot of times you have to do a lot of playing around with making sure the settings are correct. But if you are deeper in skin tone and you want to be sure that you have the safest bet, that's the best way to go. But once again, always vet your laser tech and make sure that they can show you a portfolio of them working on brown and black, deeper skin types like yours. 4th is IPL. So I personally would say if you are going to someone who their primary laser that they use for laser hair removal is IPL, that you should run. First things first, if you are black or brown, IPL is not for us. If you go IPL or BBL, which is the blue broadband light shit, you know what I'm talking about. And the difference is this is actually technically not a laser, it's a light. And it is strictly looking for all pigment and to remove it. It's pretty colorblind and it can't really differentiate between the two, but it's really not all that great for treating laser hair removal. It's also a very slow stamping motion. There is no form or way to do any SHR, which is a much quicker version and the newer version. And on top of that, it will literally blast the pigment off of your face. If you guys remember earlier this year, there was a woman who posted how she left a med spa after she got the broadband light facial, which is the BBL light facial, and she ended up having to leave there after suffering from severe burns and even going into shock from a seizure. Don't do it, y'all, and it's not worth it. It's not the best way to do it, and on top of it, it takes longer. You gotta literally stamp, 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 stamp. We're not doing that anymore. We're not, okay? We got different ways of doing things, and that ain't it. So now that I've answered pretty much all of your FAQs, and you can always put some comments with some more questions down below, I am going to talk to you a little bit about the 5 things you need to do for prepping for your first laser hair removal appointment. So this is your little checklist, and I got my little notes right here. First thing that you want to do is make sure that you always get a consultation and a patch test first. Any person or any facility that's looking to just sell you a laser hair removal service, the full thing without even trying to test it on you, clearly does not care about the integrity of your skin, and they're looking to sell that package so they can get your money, honey, okay? And that's not what we do. You want to make sure that they do some form of testing, document out your preset settings, and so they have some kind of guideline when they go into treating you when the time starts. And they also will pretty much have some prep for you to do before you get started, and I'll get into that next. 2, when it comes for prepping, I love to use tyrosinase inhibitors on my clients. What tyrosinase inhibitors are going to be the pigment protectors. So what it does is it helps to suppress melanin into the skin that is a little bit overreactive and bratty. A good example would be like tranexamic acid, as you've probably heard of before. Excellent at keeping that really excitatory melanin at bay, so that if they happen to make a mistake with laser settings, it won't prompt your melanin to rush to the top, protect you, and leave you with scarring. I love to prep with that at least 2 to 3 weeks before your first session. That really covers our ass. 3, make sure that you shave the area 12 to 24 hours before. You don't want to come in with the bush, but you also don't want to come in super clean shaven. I was taught that when I was first working with a laser tech, that you want to do it that same day, 12 to 24 hours. But I was told that it's a little sensitive if you do it right before. If you do happen to come into your appointment and you do have hair, they typically will give you a razor so you can do the do, so you can make sure that you're good and shaven for the service. But you want to just go ahead and get prepped, because that could probably put them behind, also put you behind, and they may just like tell you to go home, just depending on how busy their day is. So be prepared, make sure you shave, don't wax, don't pluck, don't tweeze, shave. And lastly, prep the area. That means if we're doing a Brazilian laser hair removal appointment, take a shower, prep the skin. Less is more though, I will say that. You don't really need to put on any lotions to the area that they're treating, or do any fancy body treatments that day, or even do any tanning. Please don't tan, like fake tan, real tan. You're done tanning. That's why we like to do laser hair removal in the winter. Make sure that you're doing less, and you just come to the appointment nice, clean, and ready to go. If you have any more questions on laser hair removal or laser hair reduction and how it can affect you, I would love to answer some questions, but each laser service is going to vary depending on your skin tone, skin type, your ethnicity of not just you, but your parents, as well as other deciding factors. So I would love to answer all your questions. Please leave a comment below, and make sure you like this video so someone like you can find someone like me, and we can get all connected, and I can get you all the education you need for these hot girl topics. I'll see y'all soon. Bye.